A response to some comments. Nigel Wood says, "Did I hear you right? Empty hotels of asylum seekers and house the homeless. That sounds incredibly like a speech by your nemesis, Nigel Farage. Next video, you'll be telling us you've joined Reform UK." Well, no. The point is that uh, the government is locked into contracts with housing developers or with hotel chains, um, and not unlike the what's the one the Clear Springs, um, and I'm not sure how long those contracts are, but I suspect it's a matter of years. So the argument might go that if the government were to speed up the processing of asylum applications, then those hotels would be emptied. And then what would they do with all those hotel rooms? Well, here is a suggestion. The first thing is we shouldn't be delaying the speeding up of asylum applications, of processing those asylum applications. That is our duty. And the Home Office indolence needs to be turned round. And if the civil servants who are staffing the Home Office aren't able to do this, then new civil servants need to be brought in. The civil servants need to be moved from one ministry to another until we actually get this done. And the indolence which was encouraged by Theresa May, under Theresa May, the hostile environment which was interpreted, I am told, by civil servants who worked in the Home Office, that it was interpreted widely as an indication for a slowdown. That slowdown needs to change. After 14 odd years, it needs to change. And we need to process the applications. Those who merit asylum should be granted asylum, should move into the community, should work and contribute to our tax system and integrate. And the spaces that are left behind should be used to accommodate the homeless. It's outrageous that we have a homeless problem of this severity in London, in a London run by a Labour mayor. It's outrageous. And there are many reasons why people are homeless. I was walking past Centre Point yesterday. I was thinking, well, surely there's so many empty rooms in Centre Point. That's a building that has never functioned. We need to be more creative in the way that we approach concepts like homelessness, particularly in the run-up to winter. And we need to get homelessness off our streets. And simply buying people or giving people access to tents or access to there's a rather charming site. I can't remember where it was now. I think it's on Dean Street, where there's some coat hangers, and they take a coat, and there's some pillows as well, as long as you need it, and then bring it back. These are inspired ideas to help, but they're not fixes. And when I look at, I spoke to some homeless people yesterday as well, and I was surprised by how many people were begging on the streets. And the problem is that today, in our cashless society, we can't help. We can't help because we don't carry cash anymore. And so this idea of somebody asking for twopence for a cup of tea doesn't mean anything anymore. We can't do anything. We walk past. Even if we wanted to help. This is now something that we need to sort out as a society. And I think back to the idea of mendicant friars and Francis of Assisi. When I was born, I was given the name Francis, so I can think of myself as being blessed by the great St. Francis and his love of animals and so on. But I was then adopted and given another name. But I retained a fondness for Francis of Assisi, who is a great individual who challenged society's norms, and I think made people in the Middle Ages think twice about the value of somebody who was begging. These are human beings. There is dignity in these people who are homeless. And simply to give them a tent is not enough. We need to give them a future. And change is part of life. We need to embrace change and recognize change, but we can manage that change, that transition, that transformation. We don't need to see people on the street. Or we don't need to have people on the street, particularly when we clearly have so many hotel chains that are desperate to help. And while the government is committed to paying for those rooms, I think it should take advantage of that fact and do something, at least in a temporary way, to help. A short-term fix will demonstrate that a fix is possible in the long term. And meanwhile, if I look across, I was having a chat this morning with people in Ukraine who were saying that they hadn't noticed the degree of homelessness in Ukraine that I had identified last night in London. But of course it is there. So many people, thousands of people, have been displaced across Ukraine. But what is interesting is you don't see them in the street. So where are they going? Is an interesting question. Similarly, of course, you don't see the homeless in the street in Russia, or at least I didn't. But they exist. Sometimes I must recall that I came across homeless people in underpasses and in the railway system, in the metro. But it's not an attractive aspect of our societies, and we need to address it and we need to sort it out. And when we've got an opportunity facing us with accommodation which has been paid for and which should be emptied, then we have free rooms that can be filled, at least for a while, with the homeless, and we should make the most of that option.